Good morning. Basa tayo natin libro, guys. History of the Filipino People by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is Thursday, December 2022. History of the Filipino People, Part 2 pa rin tayo, the Spanish period. Topic number 7, Resistance against Spanish rule. Nandito tayo sa paragraph letter C, Religious Uprisings. Karugtong ito kahapon. Disenchantment with Christianity as disseminated by the missionaries, the real precepts and meaning of which the converts never fully understood, and hatred for many priests who used the church not for spiritual and charitable purposes but to entrench Spanish power in the colony, impelled some Filipinos to found another religion under native supervision. Movements initiated toward this goal in reality rebellions with religious undertones usually resulted in the murder of priests and the sacking of churches. In 1601, the Ilongots revolted against the insistent Spanish attempts to convert them to Christianity. A strong expedition sent to the mountain fastnesses of Igorot land subdued the rebellion, despite a concerted campaign to Christianize the highland peoples of Luzon and to place them under organized political supervision. The Spaniards gained only nominal political and military control over them. In the Cagayan Valley, 1625 and 1627, and Oton, Iloilo, 1663. On the other hand, the Spaniards, assisted by native volunteer soldiers, suppressed attempts of the natives to found a new religion. The racial prejudice of many Spanish friars alienated countless Filipinos from Christianity. In 1840, the Dominicans refused to admit Apolinario de la Cruz, who wanted to pursue a priestly vocation under the religious order, on the ground that he was a native with the little knowledge that he had about the doctrine and precepts of Catholicism. De la Cruz established a religious brotherhood called the Cofradía de San Jose in Tayabas, now Quezon Province. Cofradía de San Jose. The brotherhood gained thousands of adherents in Tayabas, Laguna, and Batangas. De la Cruz also called Hermano Poli. So the recognition of the brotherhood by the Spaniards responded by arresting hundreds of his followers. In 1841, De la Cruz and his followers took up arms in Tayabas and murdered the provincial governor. The Spanish, however, eventually overwhelmed the rebels, captured De la Cruz, and executed him publicly. Letter D. Agrarian Complaints. Growing agrarian distress found expression in sporadic revolts, which became increasingly frequent as large estates passed from the encomenderos to the religious orders as a result of mounting debts that could not be paid by small cultivators. Vast tracts of land accumulated in the hands of money lenders who were at the same time merchants enjoying the boom in foreign trade in the last half of the 19th century. Because the peasant debtors were allowed to remain on the land as mere sharecroppers or kasamas, or as lessor-tenants or inquilinos. The moneylenders were able to evade the harsh land taxes that continued to burden the peasants. The landed gentry, as well as the religious orders, aroused much resentment among the Filipinos by their countless feudal exactions, arbitrary increases in land rents, unjust eviction of farmers, and fraudulent land measurements that dispossessed many small farm owners. The absence of a proper land title system aggravated the problem of the ignorant Filipinos who fell easy prey to surveyors of the government and the religious orders. In the 18th century, outbreaks of agrarian unrest ravaged the countryside around Manila under the leadership of the Machinsa, the natives of Lian and Nasugbo in Batangas, raised the standard of revolt in protest against the unconditional appropriation of their land by the Jesuits. Peasant resistance spread to other towns of Batangas and even to Laguna, Cavite, and Morong Rizal. Government troops sent from Maynila, however, quelled the revolt. During the 18th century, the Dominicans and Agustinians also increased the acreage of their estates by arbitrary. Ulitin ko lang. During the 18th century, the Dominicans and Agustinians also increased the acreage of their estates by arbitrary alienation of land occupied by hundreds of farmers in Bulacan. The priors not only increased land rentals but also prohibited the natives from enjoying the feudal privileges of gathering forest products and fishing in the rivers and streams without paying taxes. In the face of these abuses, Pedro Calderon Enriquez, a solicitous auditor of the Real Audiencia, who was sent to investigate agrarian conditions in the province, required the religious orders to present titles to their estates. Such lands without legal titles were converted into crown lands or relingas, but the religious orders continued to occupy them in violation of law until attempts were made by the Americans to expropriate some of these lands when they took over the province. Alam niyo guys, tayo yung may-ari ng lupa, tapos sila yung dayuhan, sila pa yung alam mo yun? Ay. Okay, in 1888, the tenant of the Calamba Estate shopping under Rising, kumbaga sa nung na-discover niyang Spaniards ang Philippines, may mga tao na kasi 1521 nila nasakaw, tapos may mga una na talagang tao dyan. So ang Kastila lang, hindi nakadiscover talaga ang Kastila, kundi sila ang unang sumakop sa atin. Alam mo yun. Pero kung tutuusin, dapat kaya yun ng mga ng mga naunang Pilipinong lupigin, kasi konti lang naman yung nasa di ba? Yung naglayag sila Magellan. Masakit sa dibdib. Kita mo, pinahirapan yung mga Pilipino. In 1888, the tenant of Calamba Estate shopping under Rising, land rentals, intimidation, threats of ejection, deception in land service, and the abuses of the lay managers of the estate took their grievances to court, but as expected lost their case against the Dominicans who owned the whole town of Calamba as well as the agricultural lands around it. The religious corporation, authorized by the court decision, ordered the eviction of the tenants and the demolition of their houses. The helpless tenants were refused shelter by people in the neighboring towns. It appeared that Governor Valeriano Weyler, later to gain notoriety as the sinister butcher of Cuba, took the side of the Dominicans and ordered the residents of these towns not to give any hospitality to the Colombians. Moreover, he sent a gunboat with 300 soldiers to the beleaguered town to impress upon the peasants the might and power of the Spaniards. The attempt of the Colombians to seek redress of their grievances also resulted in the banishment of many prominent citizens of the town, including the father and 3 sisters of Jose Rizal. Guys, pakinggan nyo yung may refer ako sa inyo para madali nyo maintindihan yung history ng Filipino people. Pakinggan nyo yung kanta ni Yoyoy Villami na history song tsaka yung geography. Shortcut yun ng ito isang buong libro itong babasahin natin. Pero yung song shortcut yun ng history natin. Napanood ko kasi kahapon din. Muslim resistance to Spanish rule. Mainam pa yung mga Muslim mo, talagang sila, talagang lumaban sila sa Spaniards. Muslim resistance to Spanish rule. From the inception of colonial rule, the Spaniards made attempts to secure the Muslims' recognition of their power and authority by sending expeditions to the south and engaging the Muslims in continuous warfare. The Muslims, however, were easily the best organized, and as a result of the cohesive force of Islam, the most strongly united native group in the Philippines. Thus, while the fragmented barangays of Luzon and the Visayas buckled down to the Spaniards, the Muslims successfully resisted all efforts, military and missionary, to put Mindanao and Sulu under Spanish sway. The Moros, as they were derisively referred to by the Spaniards, retaliated by pillaging coastal towns under Spanish control and carrying off hundreds of defenseless natives for sale in the slave markets of Borneo and the East Indies. Muslim raids often depopulated the fringes of the colony and resulted in the neglect of agriculture and industry in these areas. In the 1860s, the purchase of several gunboats and steamboats reduced Muslim piracy and enabled the Spaniards to build fortified stations along the coast of Mindanao, from which they could launch new ventures for the establishment of Spanish sovereignty over the Muslim South. In 1876, the Spaniards concluded a treaty with the Sultan of Sulu, in which the latter recognized Spanish sovereignty in return for an annual pension for the Sultan and his heirs. The Muslims, however, honored the treaty more in the breach than in the observance of its provisions. Such a precarious state of relationship continued up to the end of the Spanish regime. Consequences of fragmented resistance. Bukas na lang natin to, guys. Yung consequences of fragmented resistance related development of Philippine nationalism. Bukas na lang to. Continuation. Mahaba-haba na naman kasi to. Ayun. Kaya ako, kumbaga sa ano guys, inano lang talaga yung Christianity ng Spaniard sa atin. So, yung unang religion natin talaga is not Christian. Kita mo yung Islam ang parang mas nauna pa tong mas nauna na yung Islam. Kasi nang anuhin sila ng Spaniard, Islam na sila eh. Yung Mindanao. So, dapat balik Islam tayo. Bye everyone. God bless.